Okay, so we've already done a video on the lower chakras. We've already done a video explaining how the lower chakras line up with the nether realm levels, line up down the legs, and are corresponding with the middle chakras. I don't think we've really talked about the middle chakras in length or how they correlate with the planets. For those of you who've done any deeper research into Zoroastrianism, they understand that the duality goes so far as to the Daevas rule over the planets, where the Ahoras rule over the horoscope constellation of stars. And so if the Daevas are ruling over the planets, then those same Daevas are ruling over our internal chakras. Our internal chakras are ruling over the atoms, and so on and so on, so that we have the same microcosm and macrocosm concept understanding of both in and out. So if our major chakras are comparative to the planets in the solar system, then that is an example of microcosm and macrocosm. Does that make sense at this point? Alright, cool. So we're going to start with the base chakra and work our way up. The Tattva in this essence is a building block or a piece of how you build things in the physical reality, is earth. You have to move away from the Western concept of earth, air, wind, and fire. You got fuck all that shit, okay? Fuck all the alchemic emulations and all that bullshit. Earth. Earth is a piece of physical reality. Dirt is earth. Land is earth. Concrete is earth. Mud is earth. Earthy. Whatever has earth, and there's earth inside of you. You have to have all 5 of these tattvas in order to be considered. Actually, you got to have all 6 of these if you really want to get into it, to be considered a conscious being. Does that make sense? So somewhere inside of you there is earth. So there has to be the earth element inside of you. And then water, the tattva of water. It's not just water, it's anything that's fluid. Any type of fluid, water, milk, blood, anything that has fluid, like the fluid in plants. Any type of fluid is considered like water. Fire. Fire is fire. It's also radiation from the sun. It's also electricity in the wires. It's also the heat in the water. Anything that has heat or conducts heat is fire. So like your nervous system works off of electricity. Your blood works off of water. The stuff like the carbon and the iron of things in the blood is earth. Starting to make sense? All of these pieces have to come together. And then air. Air is like we breathe. Air is also the space that emits sound and allows you to transfer sound. Air is also the space to transfer sight. Air is the space that allows you to use your 5 senses. Does that make sense to everybody? That's how they classify air. Aether. Aether is a space in a time frame. It's also part of the spiritual aspect, the conscious aspect. It's consciousness, it's sit. It's a space that allows all these things to kind together to create basically like gray matter, your brain, or anything that allows you to interact with your environment. It's your consciousness. Does that make sense? So in order for us to go and get food, we have to know that we need food, and we have to take on all that mental capacities in order to do the things it takes to get to the food. Does that make sense? Spirit is when we're specifically talking about like the jiva. We're talking about the chakras. We're talking about the connection we have to the other planets. It's the ethereal, invisible aspect that everybody argues whether it exists or it doesn't exist. Purusha is the essence of everything that pervades all of these. Make sense? This is the pervading aspect. Like the force would be Purusha.
And those would be the different trees?
Sure. Tree? What do you mean by tree?
I thought you said forest.
Force, like the Force from Star Wars.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like the Purusha was the forest and those things are the trees.
Like the propulsion.
The propulsion, the vibration of anything that happens. Everything is based off of vibration. Purusha pervades everything to transmit that vibration. Make more sense now? The essence of the universe. That goes throughout everything. Alright, so moving on and understanding the concept. So the Mahadhara chakra is our basal thing. If we are balancing this chakra, it makes us feel safe, it gives us self-confidence, it gives us a base understanding. The ruling entity over that particular chakra is, for us, Chinnamasta. Like, normally they say it's Vedic Indra or Indra for normal Hindu workings and chakras. But the story about how Chinnamasta gets the Varja from Vedic Indra in Tantra only makes sense to have Chinnamasta, since she's now as ruler of the lightning. And it's the lightning that awakens the Kundalini. And the Kundalini is in the Mahadhara chakra. The planet that is connected with this chakra is Jupiter. And the essential Tattvas that we pull in to help us understand the goddess and how everything correlates and works together is the concept of combining earth and spirit together. So your Mahadhara chakra is both earth and spirit together. And those are the dualistic aspects of that chakra. Make sense? Cool?
Yeah.
Alright. Water, and obviously, the Mahadhara chakra is in your butthole. Ha ha ha, it's right at the base of your tailbone, blah blah blah, all the jokes. It's water. The Swadhisthana chakra is for men right here, right above the penis and the notch. For women, it's in the G spot, that's just on the underside of the pelvis bone. The Hindu understanding of it is Sati. Sati was Shiva's first wife, who got broke up into 50 pieces, fell to the earth. Then the temple of the menstruation that occurs every year that they all go to, which then is Jahi. We all know what Jahi is, the menstruating whore, yada yada yada. And she is the guardian of the chakra and the guardian of the moon. And it's water and water. Because basically, you're dealing with reproduction and excretion of urine. So, water, birth water, it's all water.
What and anything in the way of water would be, what like a boulder in the flow.
Like a kidney stone in the middle of your urethra. Yeah. Sure, yeah. That sounds pleasant, doesn't it?
Yeah, I like that.
Not at all.
Yeah, so we want to keep the earth out of the water.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is an expression, when this is balanced, you have a healthy expression of sexuality, relationships, and so on. Fire, on a pure solar chakra, there is really no Zoroastrian equivalent. There's no negative Zoroastrian equivalent, so there's really no Deva. You can say Agni. Agni is basically over fire, and we've already posted a very lengthy blog explaining the difference between Agni and Attar and how those two differentiate, and we're not going to get into all that. The planet that it is in terms with is the sun. That is specifically meaning fire, and we're talking about radiation from the sun. The radiation from the sun is what hits us. It is radiation that transforms anything and just mutates life. So the aspect that changed something from a non-living object to a living object is brought about the mutation from radiation. And we can take that same radiation with sun gazing, absorbing the sun, to give us the energy to recharge all of our chakras, not just the solar chakra. And it also feeds us direct prana from the sun itself, that we can then distribute and destroy or create the 5 pranas that we used to live with. Does that make sense? And that's why the solar is so important, and obviously it's going to be fire and fire together. Any questions there?
No, Agni, the sun, fire, fire makes sense to me.
All right, so then fire gives way to air. Air is over the heart chakra. The Hindu is going to be Kali, and then the Zoroastrian is going to be Swarva. And this is really funny. I noticed that when I was getting all these put together, Mars is the planet. Unfortunately, and what's really funny is that all of these are war gods from different cultures. Just wasn't expecting it, but I'm just pointing it out.
And that's the heart chakra?
Yes, sir. And that is the heart chakra.
And Mars always seems to be attached to war for some reason.
Yeah. So technically, Swarva is for war and chaos. Kali is obviously the war goddess, and then, well, we know Mars is the Roman god of war. No, I'm sorry. It's Roman. The Greek is Ares. But anyway, and then your Tattvas are going to be air and fire, which makes sense. At this point, you also have the combination, and what it's showing is you're beginning to combine the male and female aspect together. That's what's happening.
Well, and isn't it also the creative energy of the fire and the ability to recognize and use your environment with the air, like you were talking about, like using your senses and stuff like that? So it's combining creative energy with your senses and your understanding.
Yeah, and your beginnings of knowledge. So that, because once you get to here, this is when you have your wisdom. But we'll get to that. But yes, you're right. This is where the knowledge begins. Because you're doing things. Your heart chakra is over what your hands do and the work that you do. And that's how you gain knowledge. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Knowledge is gained through doing, reading, whatever. Aether is the Vishuddha chakra, which is throat chakra. Hindu is Shiva. Nanshite, Nahakin, whichever way you want to use this particular deva. We use Nanshite to make it easier. They're connected into Venus. And here you have spirit and water coming together. So you have the feminine along with the will and the consciousness coming together. Then you get up to the Ajna chakra, third eye, spirit obviously. Akamana, evil mind. And we also understand that Akamana is conceptuance. It's the lust, the drive to do evil. Its planet that it also watches over is Mercury, which is a combination of Earth, which would be evil. The Earth is the base of everything, and the spirit, which is the highest concept. So in the mind, we're bringing the divine and the demonic together.
The highest concept of evil?
Yep. Fucked up, ain't it?
I mean, I guess from some people's perspective, yes. I think it's beautiful.
And then the Swahasrara chakra is the Purusha. The guardian of that chakra is Mainyu. And he's also the guardian of the planet Saturn. And here you have the combination of air, which is knowledge, like you were talking about. And then Purusha is considered wisdom, and it's also considered the thing that pervades the entire universe. And this you see in Mainyu attributes because he can go through all 21 planes. He has access to all of it. He's both divine and demonic. And Saturn is one of the more spiritual planets, and he can move about in the air, and he can move about in all the planes of the universe, which is why he is over the Sahasrara chakra. That makes sense to everybody? And then, just so other people know, since everybody's always talking about the main Deva of Zoroastrianism, your components that combine Chamunda as Aris. Chamunda is a avatar to Kali Ma, also an avatar to, well, we're just going to make it easy. It's an avatar to Kali Ma. Alright, and then Lakshmi is Tarvi. So, the Hindu Lakshmi is actually Tarvi. That's just to give everybody an understanding where the head Deva, and if they have an equivalent, that's the equivalent. There's not an equivalent with Malik Taos. There's not a Hindu equivalent of Akamana, but Shiva, Anshai, Kali, Swara, Chamunda, Zaris, Lakshmi, Tarvi. Easy enough. There's no correlation with Agri, Sati, and Jahi. And then Chinnamasta really has no negative Zoroastrian equivalent. So there has to be an understanding and an opening that when we're trying to bring in the tantric elements, which are what the Deva are based on, here they are in specific orders of what they are. And for us, and I don't have it up here because it's not an aspect of the chakras, but Shakti to us is actually Manasa. Both of those are obviously Hindu, Shakti being the other half of Shiva, which is, all the different Mahadevi. But to us, Shakti is considered to be a false goddess. The Manasa matches that same false goddess concept, as her being a Naga. Then it would be more sensible to have a Naga representing the Shakti Kundalini spirit rising up through the chakras from the base of the Mahabharata. And it also shows that with Ahriman, the serpent is Manasa that's going around Ahriman. And if you look at it, this is not the best representation of it, but his feet, the tail of the snake should be under his feet, wrapped around his ankle, then coming up across the shin, then coming up across the knee, then coming up across the thigh, then coming up across the hips, and then it comes up to the solar chakra. We've already discussed the lower chakras being the top of the feet, the bottom of the feet, the ankles, and so forth. And then rising up to where what would be considered the solar chakra, and all that down would all be considered base. It would all be considered earth base or nether realm based, which is one of the symbolisms. And then the fact that we skip the heart chakra, we skip the throat chakra, and then we immediately cover both the crown chakra and the third eye chakra, states that we're closing that off. In other words, your jiva cannot be liberated or not receive moksha to return to Brahma and leave the reincarnation cycle, because it is the illusion that is locking the head down. So you can see Manasa as both Maya Shakti and Kundalini Shakti together. Make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. Any questions? Nope. Okay, then I guess we're done.
All right.